Of the Rancho Bernardo Historical Society Speaker Series. I'm Vince Rossi, the coordinator of the series. Happy to welcome you today for our program. And let me just give you the name of our next program, which is going to be in November, Saturday, November 8th. Our speaker will be Richard Carrico, historian, author, and archaeologist. And his subject will be El Presidio de San Diego, Excavating Southern California's Lost City. So mark that on your calendars. Today, we're proud to have speakers representing the San Diego Firehouse Museum. And I'd like to thank the man I first arranged this with, the executive director of the museum, Mike Colafrancesco, who was originally going to be part of the program, but he said his duties, he's still a working fire captain, might require him not to be absent from today. And we understand that, and we salute his service as we salute the service of the members who are going to be here today. Talking about this facility, which is over 100 years old and is a National Historic Landmark, and it was a former City of San Diego fire station. And we'll find out more about that, and the department which has been providing fire safety for the citizens of San Diego since 1889. So we're proud to welcome members from the San Diego Firehouse Museum. Please welcome.
Hi guys, my name is Kane Fiedler. I'm a volunteer with the Firehouse Museum. I also work at San Diego Miramar Fire Academy, in charge of logistics and equipment of that department, or that academy.
My name is Charles. I work for the city of San Diego, so I'm still active in the department as well as a volunteer at the museum. I've been down here for 10 plus years. Started down here before I got on the job and then continued that. So we're going to go through some of the PowerPoint slides that we have today, just about the museum, the history, everything we have down there. As we go through it, if you have questions, anything else, we answer them, and then if you have questions at the end as well. So
PHGL, what does that stand for?
So before we became a single department, fire departments were privatized, so it used to be Pioneer Hook and Ladder. Pioneer Hook and Ladder?
Oh, Pioneer Hook and Ladder.
So that's what it used to be. So before the museum was taken over by the city, they were funded privately. Sure all of you know Jerome's Furniture. They funded fire departments back then. So if you, the slide that's in here, but as well as if you go into the museum, there's a picture of the Jerome's Furniture, where they used to fund, and then the department they used to have there. So this one here is the original picture of the front of the museum. So you can see, you used to be down on the front chute with the bay doors that we have there now. Back then these doors were barn doors, so we still have those doors there. But that was for when the fire department had horse-drawn carriages. They were able to leave those top doors open. This is what it looked like out front. There you have the crew that was there for the day. So back then they had just the one rig, but everybody was on the fire engine. And they also rode tailboard back then. That was before they had all the laws, rules, and regulations now. But back then you could ride on the outside of the vehicle, not be in a seatbelt, and kind of go down the street there. So.
And this is the crew, Station 6. This picture is from 1917.
So you can see back then, obviously, our uniforms have changed a little bit. These are what we call our Class Bs. But those there were their Class As, and that was what they wore all the time there when you were on duty. So we still do have the same tradition as wearing ties. Your first year on the job, you have to wear a tie with your Class B. That's kind of a rite of passage, and once you get off probation, then you're allowed to not have to wear your tie anymore as well. Here's out front. You can see like Columbia Street. Kind of just another view of it. Usually you can kind of see that if you've been down there recently, you can see all the new infrastructure that is built around it. But typically the way it is on that is that second floor there at the top was where you were housed at. And then the front window there was the chief's window, so that was where Chief had his own areas, and everybody else shared a common area. So everybody had the same living room. We slept on bunk beds back then. And then everybody just had a common shower and a common restroom there at the top. So.
This was a workshop. So Station 6 was home of the firefighters, and it was also a workshop where we had repairs and projects that they all had a trade, all these firefighters, whether it was carpentry, welding, or coming up with new ideas for the fire service. Everyone had a part.
We had a lot of these back then, because nowadays you can order everything on the internet. There's a company that builds it. Back then, nothing was standardized, so all your couplings, the hose fittings, nozzles, everything was built by hand. In this picture here, you can't see it's in black and white, but everything was built in brass. So that's where brass came from. They used what everything we built from out of those. The fire poles that they used to slide down from the second to the first floor used to be built out of brass. But then when they had the World War, they were collecting brass for everybody, so they had to swap those poles out for steel. So the original ones are not there, but we still have the replica poles that are set up for when they actually did swap them out on the inside. So part of your daily duties, not running calls, is whatever skill or trade that you had, painting, machine work, mechanic work, you would do it inside the station as well there.
Just the side lot of the Firehouse Museum.
One here we still have this engine in the museum. So everything we have in the museum was active at one point. So we still originally have this one on the inside. And then you can see that as you go through and walk around the museum. These ones here for you, on the steering wheel you had your timing and your ignition and everything else. Nowadays just put your key in and start it. But you had to adjust all that on the steering wheel. So as you drove and it got started up, it got warm, you had to change your timing and your ignition things that were on the side there. They also had here in the front, kind of how they had the old school planes, you had to crank to start it. These were able to crank to start. We still have that bar. Fortunately, they got away from that because there was a lot of injuries with that where it would kick back and then it would kick back. So a lot of guys would get broken arms, things from that because they were not strong enough to get it to start and kick over. This here's the original piece of the concrete that was from originally. You can see it's kind of another rite of passage. When stations go in, guys usually write their name in the concrete, kind of put their signature or something there. They save this piece. We still have this piece in the museum. It's on display, but you can see from 1917, everybody that was on the crew at that time at that station had gone and put their name in the concrete there.
This is the world's first gas-powered engine fireboat, and it's from San Diego City. We named it the Bill Kettner, and Bill Kettner was a political figure in San Diego and a congressman, and he has a huge role of why San Diego today has such a big maritime and a Navy background. So we can thank Bill Kettner for that.
The fire department does not run the boats anymore for the city. The lifeguards do it. They're still part of the city, but they're just a different division. So the lifeguards are who are on the fire boats. And if they are assigned to a fire boat, they do go through a basic fire academy. So they have some of the understandings of roles and responsibilities in those fires. As well as they have all the same gear that we have to go into those fires. And then they all respond throughout the harbor there. They don't carry water on those because they use the salt water to put it out, but they do carry foam for those as well.
This is that picture is the Great Standard oil fire of 1913, and this kind of showed the reason why we needed a fireboat in San Diego with the fast-growing waterfront community we had at the time.
This was down in the harbor where the Dole plantation is, where you saw the shipyard there. So back then, this is where that was at, and these were the oil tanker that had caught fire that shows kind of what they needed to have down there in the city at the time. This is down in the harbor, within the dry dock is what they consider. So this is where they build the boat. You can kind of see they put it on stilts and wood there across, and they build it inside of this frame structure. Then once they're done, they kind of just are able to slide it off into the water. Nowadays you see a lot of those videos where they have it on rafters and it can slide out. This one here was kind of just, they had to knock the wood out and kind of get it to slowly go off into the water. And they built these right at the edge of the water for that reason.
I believe this one was built at Station 6.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This you can see here was an older style fire engine we had. Obviously everything nowadays, modern technology, everything's covered, everything's inside. Not as much mechanical components as it used to be, but you can see there that was the engine on top, and then as well as you have that wheel there on the left, and this is how they kind of generated that with the power on there. And you can also see, you just kind of had a spot that wasn't really a assigned place, but you can see that they just kind of grabbed onto a spot and were able to stay there and ride along to the calls that they were going to. This is another picture, but
Oh yeah, just repairs of the fire boat in the engine, or in the station.
you see the mechanical part of the machine room there. Like you said, everything was in-house. They had to have the machinery and all the stuff to build those. They were not just able to, have the internet and just order something at that time. They had to figure out how to fix it, re-engineer that so they continue to use it.
That is a 6-cylinder Atlas 220 HP Marine gas-linked engine, and for the shop builders. Pretty interesting. All in-house, like Charles says. This is the completed boat. When it was all done, moving it from Station 6 to the water, they would put wood to kind of move it.
Just kind of, they got it down the street so you can see where it's at. Obviously, the waterfront is now extended farther west from that, but it used to be pretty close where Front Street used to be. That used to be the waterfront. Now it's progressively moved back, so you can kind of see. Here's a shot of the fireboat. I have a call. You can kind of see back in the streams that they had. They had the two off the front as well as off the top, so they're able to fight the fire from the shore. So this was one of the things that they showed when the oil tanker fire, that this would be able to help out, and how much more frequent use they would actually use as they go through. Same thing here in the harbor. Obviously it's changed, but back then when this picture was taken, there wasn't very much in the harbor itself, but that's usually a typical crew there of 7 that were on that. You can't see too close in the pictures, but obviously you have your unit captains in charge by the bugles that they have on their collar, and then he has this crew that works underneath him. And on these ships, everyone has a role and responsibility so that they know the jobs are going to get done on there.
Yeah. That was Fire Chief Louis Holmgreen. He was responsible for the build of the Bill Kettner.
So just saw these pictures in the museum. We have all from our first chief all up to our current chief. But you can see back then with the bugles on his collar, they usually have the 5 of them that are on there. Depending upon how high you are, is how many bugles you have on your collar there.
Is that boat still in existence?
The boat is not. We have the pictures of it, but unfortunately, That one in particular is not. They have, we have newer ones that the lifeguards have that are, state-of-the-art technology-wise. But it's just kind of keeping up with the times of things that we have to continue to build those.
Charles would know better than me, but there's been rumors of San Diego City Fire Department making another boat and having that, but I'd say that's down the line.
They are in the process of getting one through the state. So there's a state fire department. What they do for the city is they buy the rigs, they fund them, and then in return, the department has to be able to staff those. So they are working on getting a fireboat for the city that the fire department runs. And a big thing for that is that we had the Oceanside Pier fire a couple years ago. That was a very big demonstration of showing, hey, there's a, if we had a boat here, what are the potentials for that? And it just so happened that week that fire happened, they had a few folks from the department go to Sacramento and talk to council about getting that boat, and then they had a perfect representation of why that boat would be good.
So the fire department does not have a boat at this time, the lifeguards run the boat?
Correct.
Were the lifeguard boat able to assist with the ocean side?
They do, lifeguards eventually did get up there, but because those boats are so small, it took them a while to get there. The boat that the city is proposing would be up there in about 15, 20 minutes, depending on where it's at. So
Is that a trailer boat or by water up there?
it'll be by water, yes.
That's going pretty fast.
Yeah. And then we also have the opportunity to get on those boats. So if there is a boat fire, extended incident, we're able to get on the boats with the lifeguards as well. Another big one was the Burchard fire that they had a couple years ago, the boat that was in dry dock for the military. Even though we're in that area, we do assist the military. So we did end up going to that fire, but that's another perfect example of where having a fire boat is going to be able to help out in some of those situations. Here's one where they wrote in sand. You kind of see just the names of everybody who was on the crew that they have. And this is, like we talked about, kind of a rite of passage where it's, you put your name there so that they kind of a time capsule that shows who was there when those pieces were built and continue on.
This is a picture of Station 6 in 1951. I don't know if you can notice, but that's big exterior changes from the first picture, kind of a remodel on the outside.
That little part there in the back on the top was the hose tower. So back then we used to use a cotton hose, and after a fire they had a rope and they would tie one into it, and they would basically put it up over the pole so they could hang dry there. For the longest time when the station was built, that was the highest point in the city before they started building high-rises.
This is the main floor of the apparatus bay for Station 6. Now this is our biggest area in Firehouse Museum with all their displays.
The rigs you see in this picture, we do have them in the museum. We have 3 that are still currently running that we use for parades. So St. Patrick's Day, Christmas time, other events. We do keep up the maintenance on those. We do take them out and drive them around. So not all of them, but the 3 newest ones that we have still do currently run. You can see here is just some other machine work they did in the shop. The stock they have there in the back of the picture was things that they continue to have. They need to build something inside there at work or engineering something new.
They're all in their repair uniforms and workshop done. Back in the day, they had all wooden ladders, so all those, when they needed repairs, would go to Station 6 in-house and fix them up. And now we don't use wooden ladders anymore, but it would be Station 40 is the repairs for all those.
You can see here, this is the paint shop. This part of the museum has been turned into a reception hall in the back, so they have events there. But you can see Back then it was part of the paint shop, so minor fender benders, crashes, scrapes, things like that would happen. They'd come here to fix them. It had to completely do the repair itself. It wasn't like you could buy the part from somebody. You had to figure out how you're going to fix that part and do. But you can kind of see it was a single bay there, kind of a smaller area. And then they have the back of this concrete that you'll see in the museum is sloped inside because they did the painting, the repair work, things like that. They didn't want to have any of the fluids or anything roll off into the street, so this part was actually slanted back into the station itself. So you can see right there. Right? Back then, chances are that probably hit something like a parked car, only because the technology of brakes back then was not as good as they are today. But we still do have actually that rig parked in the front of the museum that you can go in there and see on the inside.
This was Station 6 as well. A lot of the hose testing would go on at the station. This is actually, and you see the Firehouse staircase. This is where all our wagons are at the Firehouse Museum, and this is one of the only pictures we have of this general area. And there's an old urban legend of the spiral staircase in the firehouse. It was so the horses couldn't climb up them.
This is also where the Dalmatians in the fire service came from. They used the Dalmatians as part of the herding. So the Dalmatians would keep the horses in line as they would go to the fire, but then at the fire, the Dalmatian kind of became the babysitter at that time, and they would corral the horses and keep them from running off at an incident on the inside there. So that's where having the Dalmatians came from on those. Here you see is the wood shop where they also make the frame of the ladders down here, as well as cut it, and then you can kind of see some of the other stuff they worked on, right? Building chairs in the station, other things that they need. Because like I said, back then you can't buy, you have to build and figure out what your needs are. This is where our logo originally came from. So this is our seal for the city. You can see back then the wood chisels and trying to chisel that whole thing out by hand there.
This was the mayor's desk at Station 6. Still there to this day in his little office.
So we have all this upstairs. Like I said, the other side there's two separate rooms. His office was up there where that city seal is on the front of it. And that's still the same city seal that we use today.
Was it a temporary place? He had another office, right? Or was that where the mayor always sat?
And originally that's where he always sat.
Oh, okay, so there was no city hall or anything?
There was no city hall, right? And then eventually they grow and move, and now yes, everybody's down at City Hall. That's executive command staff, the senior chiefs are all down there as well. So here's just another shot inside working. You can kind of see the projects and things. And those windows are still there. We have those same original windows. Those are the old, weighted windows where weight was inside. Once you rolled it up, that weight went down. They were on ropes, so that's how those windows would move up and down. This here is the internal parts of the pump. So you can kind of see what it looked like back then as far as how we build the pressure inside those pumps. You can see these here are the vanes, so that kind of spins and spools up the water and then passes it through to the next one. That's what creates the higher pressures that we need when we're using the pump on those. Back then as well, they didn't have pumping water like we do today out of the fire hydrants. So they had kind of what looked like hollow tree trunks along the sidewalks there, and that was their version of hydrants. So back then they kind of put a hole in it, drop the intake of the hose in there, and then that's how they would get water out. And then once they were done, they put a type of a wood plug inside, hit it a couple times, and then that plug would eventually swell up, and then that's what would keep the water from leaking out. Also back there too is, hopefully you found one of those, because if you didn't find one of those, that means you'd have to put a new hole in there, but I already have it, you can just pull that plug right out, so the water to it.
Was that salt water that was in this?
No, it's just whatever running water they had at the time.
So they would take the city water?
The city water, yes. But that was their version of fire hydrants before we actually have what we use today.
Are the fire hydrants now gravity fed or are they pressurized?
Depending on where you're at in the city, they are pressurized in the system. So the minimum for your hydrants is to have 65 pounds come out. But once you get downtown, high-rise areas, the pressure goes to above 200 PSI, just because you have to have that pressure to get them out. But they are pressurized. Some other departments in the city, like Poway, they use colored caps on their hydrants. So sometimes you'll see the hydrant's yellow, and there might be a green or a white or a red cap on there. That's how they distinguish the pressure of those hydrants.
We're not gonna have the problem they'll have with no water in the fire hydrants. So we got better management down here?
I would hope so. Yeah, I mean, I haven't run out of water yet, so we do have that integrated system throughout the entire city. So
San Diego City and the county, we are known as the #1 fire prevention city in the state. So, yeah.
So this here you can see, this is what was considered a combination nozzle. Here is made out of brass. Obviously today ours is made out of composite lightweight material. We don't have to take pieces off to change the streams on them. But this one here, that top part there was like your fog stream, so it kind of gave you a bigger fog pattern. Then once you take that off, that bottom piece there will just kind of give you a straight stream on that. So you can see how over time it's integrated to where we have it all in one piece. We can just rotate it to change it, or back then they'd have to shut the hose line off, take that piece off, and then be able to change it in there so you can see.
This nozzle, along with other things, was created by Robert Eli. He was a firefighter, got hired in 1941, and he quickly made a name for himself by having all these ideas. And he was a big part of like the fire science stuff that everything's science now. So for the future generations, he did a lot. And I believe there's a picture of him, but there's a couple other really cool things that he invented that is used like nationwide now. We'll get to that in a second.
We also still have that piece along with the others on display in the museum as well. This here you kind of see is their version of a foam system they used back then. So you kind of see they draw the seawater that mixes with the foam, and then they're able to use foam and water at the same time for it to mix. This here you kind of see on the inside of it, right, it's kind of how they explain the stuff that they have, the demonstrations, things like that. So this is how they used to get out information and the material on new things that they had. This here is the standardization in 90 seconds. So this is the when we started standardizing our coupling fittings. So the threads that you would have on your like garden hose at home, we have the same type of threads, but this here is when they standardized it. This was big once they standardized it, because then everybody across the board can have the same thing. So everything is standardized throughout the city. So that means if we come up here, Escondido, Rancho Bernardo, Chula Vista, Poway, and so we go to any other department outside the city, all of our gear is standardized, so we're able to work together through that process. We know that everything is going to work regardless of where it came from.
Was that a certain period of time when they were able to do that, or standardization? Or?
When they standardized this,
It was 1963. It was a little prior to that, but officially 1963. And this was also Chief Robert Eli, or not Chief at the time, but Robert Eli, firefighter Robert Eli. Yeah. And
So there used to be, before this, one of the reasons for this was because you might have had situations where fire hoses didn't work in certain areas because of the...
Exactly. So, like back when they were the pioneer hook and ladder, and they went maybe out of district, let's say, to go assist on another fire. The other company, they all had different threads, so you show up trying to screw in or connect your couplings together and it wasn't working.
Here it kind of just goes through and explains more on the process and how they built that. The size, diameter, the length, everything you needed that you had to have to be part of that standardized. A lot of these processes take a long time now, so I'm sure it took even a longer time back then to get something standardized where everybody had to be on board with making that change.
I want to say it was President John F. Kennedy Jr. and Richard Nixon supporting Eli's national standard thread invention at the time.
It talks right there how the fire department's 2.5-inch hose was national standard thread, and now it's converted to all 1.5 inch. So it's them converting all our hose standards exactly the same across the board. There are a few places, like the Forestry Service, where they have, we have national standard pipe thread, we have national standard. They have the different sizes, but we have adapters to hook to their hose. So these are only two standards that you can have on your hose couplings, so there's fittings there. These are the some of the letters that they have from other departments back then, obviously state of Alaska. Kind of see just what the communication, what it was back then, kind of seeing how it out versus sending an email nowadays. It's kind of what they used to use for those. Here's a picture you see once they got it standardized, the machine, and then having it out there for the public to see, and then the final process of kind of the stamp of seal that it was standardized at that point. This here is what the current museum looks like. So you can see the 4 inches that are still parked inside of there. These front two obviously still run, and then you can see down here are all the fire chiefs from first to current on that ladder as well. You can kind of see there in the background of this where it says City of San Diego, so back then it was a wooden plaque. That's the original one from when Engine 6 was still inside of that building. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is now, yeah. And there's been an addition on to the side of the building where we store, that's our truck and ladder room over there.
Has it changed much in the last, we were there about 10 years ago, has it changed much in the last 10 years?
Not as much as the outside, there's painting, upkeep, stuff like that. On the outside, inside has changed a little bit. Obviously, we're adding more to it, and obviously adding more displays, things on the inside that they continue to add to that process. So it does change, maybe not month to month, but it does change year to year. So as we add more, we continue to add to it.
We get a bunch of donations from anyone, the different departments, guys who have stuff at their house they picked up, and we try to take it all, but we're just limited to room at this point. So
you see, this is from the maritime, so from the fire boat, the Bill Kettner bell that we had. You can see the boat down there in the picture. Then you have your clock here on the right, and then you can see the gauges and some of the other things they used from that time they actually were able to save. Here's the original machine from that picture we still have on display in the museum. You kind of see the mechanical part of it back then of how it worked, whereas nowadays everything's more efficient quickly, where this is kind of more the old school mechanical style of building those threads for those couplings. This is from the San Diego Exposition, so this is one, it became separate on itself. Yeah, that one on there. You can kind of see that this one was restored, so they held on to it, and then restored it, painted it white, so it's all, and there's photos of this through the process. They found it after, and then restored it. Now you kind of see the photos and the updates from those. This here's the old ticker tape, how they used to get calls in the station. Nowadays everything's electronic, computer generated maps. So you have this little bell here at the bottom, these would ring. And then as it would ring, this ticker tape would come out and it would give you, numbers on there. In those numbers, this bottom drawer right here was a catalog, kind of like a Rolodex. So you would pull that drawer out and then look at the number on the sheet. So if it told you 26, you'd go to 26. And then you pull that card out and it would tell you the cross streets, who's going and what's there. So this was kind of their mapping to those back then before computers, electronics, even Thomas Brothers, the map books. This was, you had to kind of figure out where you were going on those. So depending on how the call came in, it would tell you who was going. Because they didn't have a lot of radio communication in the beginning, so they were not able to communicate like we are now going to these calls. Here's the 9/11 memorial inside the museum. So you can see there's two replica, the towers, obviously the significance of the 343 on the inside. Then we have some flyers here from Ground Zero. We also have the pictures, that cross, and then some artwork from those stations around the area. And Station 10 was in the bottom of the first tower, so you can see there that there are patches there. This piece of steel here is about 3 feet by 2 feet. This was actually a piece of the steel beam from Ground Zero. Traveled all the way across the state and made different stops. Jim Beam had started a donation, like a whiskey donation for them. So what they were doing was they made a specific bottle for 9/11 that traveled with this. And then they printed different labels and things on it. So you can still find them in some places today, but they sponsored it to go from New York across the U.S. and then ended up here in the museum.
San Diego City Fire Department, they had a big part in the rescue efforts after the tragedy.
We sent our task force team there, Task Force 8. Basically all hands helping going over there, and that's mixed up through the city. So it's not just people that work for San Diego City, but other surrounding agencies that are part of that task force and that team. All the different job scenes they had at Ground Zero. One of the big things was there is when people were coming off the pile, we were the only other department along with FDNY that was allowed to be on the pile. So that was a big thing for us being out there.
This is our event hall at the Firehouse Museum. This was the old carpenter shop that they used, and now we rent it out to parties for events at night. And I have a lot, I'm there a lot for the events. I pick up everyone I can do. It's fun meeting new people, and you rent out the whole Firehouse Museum. So it's after hours, and the museum's yours until a certain time, and you can have catering there, retirement parties. I do a lot of retirement parties, or like Christmas parties for Station 1, Station 2, a lot of different stations that choose to come.
We have the full kitchen there to the left. Obviously it's been kind of updated, but the original kitchen is still kind of there on the inside.
What's the physical location of the museum?
1572 Columbia Street in Little Italy. Yeah, we're like really close to the airport.
You can just kind of see the footprint of the area. Cedar and Columbia Street are the two cross streets. So you can see obviously the side yard. This used to be the paint shop that you can kind of see there. Then the carpentry shop in the back. They kind of have their backyard area there. This is just an aerial view. You can see the hose tower. That's what we're talking about. You see the highest point there in the city for the longest time. Machine shop and maintenance. So we still have the two bays, and you can see the in-ground floor jacks. So the hydraulic jacks that they used to have are still there in the floor that they had. That's it. You guys have any?
It sounds like there was a lot of work was that done by the firemen?
Yes, all the work back then was done by people at the station as well as the surrounding area.
I mean, you had people other than firemen doing work.
They inside there, it was everybody kind of had their own. If you're a maintenance, paint shop, machine shop, so kind of side 3 duties was other work that you still did. They used to use the station when it kind of got more up to date. We have the staffing board, so you'll see inside the museum. You used to have to go inside of there to see where you were going to be stationed for the day. So your name was on like a little placard, and you would just look for the station on this board of how they would change out. Back then too, like we talked about, the fire departments were privatized. So back then, depending on what house insurance you had, was who funded the fire departments back then. So we still have some of the original plaques around the outside. Those used to be up on the outside of your house next to your address. So kind of back then what would happen is if you'd show up and you were not funded by that insurance company, you would kind of debate how much you were going to put the fire out for before it actually would get put out. Yeah. And nowadays it doesn't matter house insurance or not, they're going to show up and do the job. It's also where the bucket brigade came from. So when they used to use the old pail buckets, guys would continue to do that. And now it's a running joke for us is, you know, first water on the fire, who can get water on the fire first. But back then it used to be who actually had water on the fire first was who was able to put it out. So they would use children with like a cup of water or they'd have water. And as long as they would go over and pour the water on something, that was a mark of first water. So that kid would be funded by different areas. And you put water on there and then they'd say, okay, well, you know, so-and-so got water on it first, so then that's who's going to get paid to put them out. So, yes.
So you were active fire?
No, sir, I will be in the process next year. I have to interview with captains and then chiefs interview and then fingers crossed get picked up.
So you know the captain?
I know a couple guys, sir. I recently, this December 2024, I went through my Firefighter 1 Academy at Miramar College, where I now work at, in charge of logistics and equipment. So I have my Firefighter 1 certifications through the state of California, and that kind of puts me a step above. I have more talking points in an interview. That's what it comes down to.
What's the protocol if you have an air accident, like PSA way back when, before you were born?
71?
Yeah. Is that all hands on deck, or what is there a protocol for that? We have a lot of air traffic here.
So we do have a lot of air traffic here. The way it works is we have different alerts. So we have alert 1 through alert 5. As far as the actual international airport, there's an entire group, division that's there. So there's 5 crash rescues, full staffed all the time, that are strictly just for the airport, and then we'll respond to that area. And then depending from there, depending on how it goes out, alert 1s are only used down there, and then alert 2 is obviously kind of like a hazard in the air, not really, you know, an accident, but something is, they have a light on or something that's doing that as they're coming in. And then alert 3 is like a bomb or a plane threat, and depending on the alerts is how much they're actually going to send to these incidents. And then alert 4 for us is something that's a crash at or near the runway. So it's something that happens on the airport field, but not exactly on the runway.
So the PSA crash would have been, what alert would that be?
PSA would have been an alert 5, all hands on deck.
They've changed the traffic pattern since that accident.
Yes.
Yeah.
More recently, you can compare that to the plane that went down in Tirasena. So was on duty, and that was an alert 5 for us, so that was all hands on deck. So, and then based upon that, once the first unit shows up, they can continue to order more. There is strategic maps when they do that, just so that it's not everybody from that area. They'll start to pull units from farther spots in the city so that we don't leave a giant hole of no coverage in that area on those. So everything is, set in alerts is how they go through those as well.
The 71 was North Park.
Yeah.
My father grew up in that area. He remembers that. He always talks about
It was in 78.
The 78?
Yeah, being an ex-pilot, they've changed the traffic patterns. Yeah, so they routed them way out.
They came around. We had one just recently on the 15 North where they were trying to land and then engine failure and landed in the center divide. So that was something that was a landing off the airfield. There wasn't injuries, but they still sent quite a few of them to make sure before any accident. It's easier to order everything and then cancel them versus show up and then realize you need more help, and then you have that reflex time of getting all that dispatched out.
Charles, what about this, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the landing gear at the airport?
So they had the plane that landed down at the international airport. The landing gear failed. So that was everybody on the airport. All the crews there responded to that. And then they're able to mitigate that hazard there on the field itself. So those things that we need to respond to and still happen.
So the Navy is opposed separate issues for responding.
Yes, so the Navy can request us. We can go on the base. We've gone on the base for other type of calls, but yes, plane crash, things like that. The one they had in the harbor about a year and a half or so ago, the lifeguards responded out with their fireboats. They responded, as well as the fire department responded because it was in the water. It was that close to where the other boats were at. So they still have it. Yes, the Navy is separate, but we're still on the same charts of going to those calls and responding to those. Yes?
I have a question about recruiting back then. Was an applicant chosen based on his skills and what they needed, or was he chosen for other reasons and then trained for whatever skill was needed?
Back then it was kind of word of mouth. Like, you happened to walk into the station that day and talk to them and they needed somebody. It was kind of how you, right?
So it didn't matter.
It didn't matter,
Okay.
right? Did you have a skill set? Did you have something that's valuable to them that they could use? Back then, I would imagine academies are not like how they are now. It was kind of just on-the-job training and things that you had to learn and go out and do. Whereas now, as you go to an academy first before you even work out in the city. So.
I know some older gentlemen who are retired, when they got picked up by certain departments, they all had trade work. So they're either plumbers, carpenters, welders, and one of their buddies got a job with the department and would reach out, hey Jimmy, you need to get a job. We got spots open. And like Charles said, there's a lot more word of mouth.